Today we're going to learn how to write equations from information. What you've been doing in the past is I gave you the equation and you graphed it. Okay? Now we're going to have like ordered pairs and you're going to write the equation from the ordered pairs. So there are three different things. There are three different things here that you may be given. The first is you may be given a point and the vertex. If you are given a point and the vertex, you're going to want to use vertex form. If you're given a point and the vertex, you're going to use vertex form. The next situation is you might be given a point and x-intercepts. If you're given a point and x-intercepts, you're going to want to use intercept form. Okay? Does that make kind of sense? Like, if you're given the vertex, use vertex form. If you're given x-intercepts, use intercept form. Okay. And then the last one, if you are given 3 points and they are not the vertex and they are not the x-intercepts, then what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to write and solve a system of 3 equations with 3 variables, which is why we practice that for our assignment, because we're doing it again. All right? So we'll do some examples. Example 1, write an equation using a vertex and a point. There is a graph on your paper. It is not up on mine. The graph shows the parabolic path of a performer who is shot out of a cannon, where y is the height in feet and x is the horizontal distance traveled in feet. Write an equation of the parabola. The performer lands in a net 90 feet from the cannon. What is the height of the net? So we have 2 things to do. We're going to write the equation, and then we're going to find the height of the net. So what information, when you look at that graph, what information is given to us?
The y-intercept.
Okay. Now, when you say the y-intercept, and we look at our notes, did any of these say use the y-intercept?
Not.
All right, so I'm just going to call the y-intercept a point. How? The vertex is given to us, isn't it? The vertex is that point 50, 35. So what I want you to do right now is take your pen or pencil and above 50 and 35, write HK, because that's our vertex, HK. And then right below the y-intercept 0, 15, let's call that, that's just going to be a point, let's call it XY. And then we are, since we have the vertex and we have just another point, which form should we use? Vertex form. So I'm going to write vertex form just in case you have forgotten it or can't see it right above. So it's y equals a parenthesis x minus h close parenthesis squared plus k. Why did I yell squared?
Because people forget.
What? Because people forget the squared. But for it to be a quadratic, for it to make that parabola, it has to be squared. If you forget the squared, you will get it wrong. People do that. They forget it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is wherever you see an H and a K, you're going to plug in 50 and 35. Wherever you see an X and a Y, you're going to plug in 0 and 15. What is not getting plugged in here?
A.
A. So let's plug in everything. Y was 15. A, we're not plugging in. X is 0. H is 50. Squared plus K is 35. Now we will use our order of operations correctly. And what we're going to do is we're going to isolate the variable A. We're going to get A by itself so we can find out what A is. By the way, what does A do to the graph?
Stretch it.
Stretch or shrink or reflex it. Right. So we're just going to find that value. Okay, so order of operations, what should I do first?
squared the parentheses.
I do inside the parentheses first. So 0 minus 50 is Negative 50. Okay, so we got 15 equals a times negative 50 squared plus 35. What do I do next? Square the negative 50. Do not square the a. You only square the negative 50. 15 equals a times, what is that? 2,000? 2,000. Yes. 2,500? Yeah. And now we're trying to isolate a. What should I do?
Divide it.
Not yet. Subtract the 35 next. And then, yeah, we'll do that next. So I get, what is that? Negative 20 equals, and then a times 2,500. So since it's being multiplied by 2,500, we will divide both sides by 2,500. No, it's not. We are going to use our calculator because, yes, it's a large number. So I'm going to type in negative 20 divided by 2,500. And you all are participating actively. You're not watching me type buttons, right? You're doing it with me? Because the next step we're going to do is we're going to write it in fraction form. But I'm going to use my calculator to make that go faster. And if you want to know how to write it in fraction form, if you want to remember how to do it, you have to do it yourself. You're not going to remember by watching me do it. So from here, to go to fraction form, you do math, enter, enter. And it will tell you the answer as a fraction. So math, enter, enter. So my a value is negative 1 over 125. Now what was I doing here? Was I finding the a value? Is that what the ultimate goal was for this question? Well, eventually I'm going to do that net height also, but before finding the net height, what did it say to do in the question? It said write an equation. This is just the a value. So now we're going to take it and we're going to write vertex form. So for vertex form, you plug in a, you plug in a, h, and k, but you have to leave like x and y as x and y because it's got to be an equation that works for any x, y. So we'll have y equals negative 1 over 125 parenthesis x minus 50 close parenthesis squared plus 35. So now what we're going to do is we're going to just make sure we did it right, and I'm going to make sure we did it right using the graphing calculator. We're going to check our answer. Okay? So go back to your graphing calculator and go to y equals, clear out anything that's in there. I'm going to type in a fraction. If you've forgotten how to do this, I'm going over it again. Some of you don't have the fraction capabilities on your calculators. So if this doesn't work for you, I'll show you how you type it in. But if you have it, you do alpha y equals enter. Alpha y equals enter. And if that little fraction thing pops up, you can type in negative 1 over 125 parenthesis, whoops, over, then parenthesis, over parenthesis x minus 50 close parenthesis squared, and then plus 35. So if you have the fraction, that's how you're going to do it. Who doesn't have, whose didn't work when it popped up? You don't have it? Oh, you do parentheses? Did you say you do it a different way? How do you do it? Yeah, the divide. Do you have it in parentheses? So if you don't have it, if you don't have the fraction thing, I'll show you how you type it in without the fraction thing. So otherwise, I'd do parenthesis, -1 divided by 125, close parenthesis. If you don't have the fraction thing, you've got to put your fractions with division in parentheses if you don't have it. And then the rest of it would be the same. X minus 50, close parentheses squared, and then plus 35. Then those of you that are ready and you've already typed it in, go to your table. You've already typed it in, go to your table. Oh. It was like off the screen, I thought it was. Go to your table. Remember, second graph, that's where your table is. Second graph. Squared. Remember I yell it? Do you know how to insert? Do you know how to insert? So, well, it takes time. You see the DEL button? You see above it says INS. You use second for lead, then insert, and then you can just do the square right there. You on the table? Is everybody on the table? You on the table? No, not yet. Hey, you have fractions here. You have fractions. Oh, I'm sorry. Use alpha like this. Enter. Like a negative one. Wait, mine has got arrow over. Is that bad? That's not what I was talking about. Oh, okay. He was using the second method, but he could have used the first method. Do you have fractions on yours? Yeah. I just did both equations. What? First one? Yeah. All right. So we're going to go to the table. Oh, let me clear out my second one. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. You can see with the newer calculators, if my first one I did in fractions, and my second one I did with the division. And in my table, it gives me either fractions or division, depending on how I typed it in. Just yours does not say that? Well, then you typed it in. You have to type in the X, not 0. Yep. Okay, now what we're checking to see that the ordered pairs 0, 15 and 50, 35 are actually in the table. We're just checking to make sure that these ordered pairs show up in our table. That's how I know my equation is right. So 0, 15 is right there. I am not about to arrow down 50 times. So we've talked about this before. You can change your table what it starts at. If you go to second table set, which is second window, and then you just tell your table to start at 50. So you can tell it to start at 50, go back to your table, and then you'll find the ordered pair where 50 is, and you don't have to arrow down 50 times. And wasn't it supposed to be 35? Yeah. You can scratch. That's right. I have that familiar. But yours is right. You have an older calculator, so it's not lying on top of each other. Okay. The next question says, or the next part of this question says, go back to it. What is the height of the net? Is the height X or Y? Y. The height is Y, so we need to know when X is 90. How can we find in the table when X is 90? Go to table set, so you can jump to 90. We don't want to arrow down that many times, and just go to 90. 22.2. You might have gotten 111 over 5 because you typed it in as a fraction. It does not really make sense for me to say, oh, that's 111 fifths feet. You'd be like, what? But if I said 22.2 feet, you'd say, oh, okay, good. Right? So I would write 22.2 feet. Let's turn the page and go to the next question. What's the next one say? Student practice. That means you get to try it. So first of all, what information is given?
Vertex and point.
Okay, so the vertex is what letters?
H and K.
H, K, and then the point is X, Y. And what form are we going to use?
Vertex form.
Vertex form. So you try it, and then I'll go over it. I wonder if she's going to make us memorize vertex form.
Is.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Done. What's that thing that I said people forget? What's really annoying about it? Well, that's what you're finding. So that's what you're finding. You're solving for A, like this one. There was a reflection, and there was a vertical. Oh, if there's a horizontal one, there you're not going to have one. You won't. Sorry, I was listening what you said. We have to solve for A. So when we're done, we will plug in the A, the H, and the K, but leave X and Y in our equation. We're done. That is the correct A. Now what do you do with it? That is the correct A. That is not the correct A. I don't know, because from here to here, there's no steps. So I don't know what you do. You gotta simplify it, you're gonna solve for A. That is not the correct A. Because you said -5 squared is 25 squared.
Right.
Yeah. You change the what?
The line. That's what it looks like.
The line? I don't know what you're talking about.
You can make like the line. The line. Different.
Oh, yeah. Oh, because you have to divide, not subtract.
I keep doing that.
I'm gonna work it out. All right, so I'm plugging in my H and my K, my X and my Y. My Y is 2. A I am finding. X is -1 minus 4, close parentheses squared, plus -9. And I'm going to get 2 equals A multiplied by, this is -5 squared, so 25 minus 9. Then I'm going to add 9. So 11 equals A times 25. Divide by 25, and we get 11/25. So our equation is Y equals 11/25. X minus 4 squared minus 9. That is vertex form. Did you have to find the second part, or was it just find the equation? Just the equation. How can we check it?
In the calculator.
Let's type that into our calculator. And it doesn't matter if you do fractions or with the division sign, as long as you type it in correctly. After you type it in, you go to your table. And I want to find the ordered pairs that were given. So I want to find 4 and -1. So I'm going to definitely change my table. Type in. Oh, okay. So, but you don't have. Yeah. Okay. So you're going to do parentheses. Parentheses. And do 11 divided by 25. Close parentheses. Now do parentheses. Minus 4. Close parentheses. And then the x squared. Because you have these wrong. I even have them up there, but you have these wrong. This is the XY. That's the HK. See how it says vertex? Am I having problems? I'm walking around. Am I having problems while I'm walking around? Hey, if not, you can start reading the next question.
These are all
And you can probably start reading. And then go back to your table a second. And then you see there's -1, 2. And then you can just arrow down to 4.
Oh, we got the X in this.
Oh boy. There's 4, -9. So I know I have the right equation. Are you excited? Is that what that was? Some excitement?
Sure. You already sure.
I do.
What's up, Doc?
Okay, so equation, or example 2. A meteorologist creates a parabola to predict the temperature tomorrow.
Wow.
Hold on, there's something way more important happening. Where X is the number of hours after midnight and Y is the temperature in degrees Celsius. Write the function f that models the temperature over time. First of all, do you see how it says write the function f? So I'm going to be doing that f of x thing, right, instead of y. And then what's the coldest temperature? So look at the graph. We have what information? The x-intercepts. How do I know that they are the x-intercepts? On the x-axis. Also, by when I look at the ordered pairs, what if they didn't give you a graph? If I look at the ordered pairs.
So y is 0.
Y is 0 when it's the x-intercepts. Y is 0. So that's how I know that these are x-intercepts. And then what's that other thing then?
A point.
It is just a point. It is the y-intercept, but none of them use the y-intercept. So this is just going to be xy. Okay? Now the equation we're going to be using, they've given you, but to find our P and Q, well, those are just the x-intercepts. So we're going to do f of x equals a parenthesis x minus p close parenthesis open parenthesis x minus q. That's the equation we're using. So over here on this graph, I can see what x and y are, but what's p and q?
P is 4. P and Q are.
P is 4, and q is 24. But when I put them in, it'll be x minus 4. Well, it'll be whatever x is.
That's what I see.
Oh, yeah. But p itself is just 4. So I'm going to plug that stuff in. So I'll have my f of x, or my y value, is 9.6 equals a times x is 0 minus p is 4 and x is 0 minus q is 24. Just plugging in x and y, you're plugging in p and q. And we're going to solve for a. So I've got 9.6 equals a multiplied by, here I've got -4 times -24. Well, this is 0 minus -4 times -24. When I actually subtract them, we got, I'll just write it. -4 times -24. What is that? What is it? It's what?
It's 96.
Oh, 96.
Is it -6?
That's what I thought he said. Yeah. So how do we get a by itself?
Divide by 96.
Divide both sides by 96, and I'll probably use my calculator for that. So I have 9.6 divided by 96, and that's 0.1. Yes.
If you're on the graph, like, how would you go back to where you are now?
Oh, second, which is the button, and then mode is a quit button. It always takes you back to the calculation screen. Very good question.
I just pressed the button here.
Okay. The second mode will get you, if you, like sometimes you'll push a button and you'll get into something and then the clear thing doesn't get you out. So to ever get out of something, it's that quit. Okay, so I got 0.1. If you want that as a fraction, then you do math enter, which is 1/10. But if you look at 0.1 and you just say it correctly, that is 1/10. But I'm actually going to use it as a decimal for this one. Why would I put this one as a decimal?
Because the other point has decimal.
That's why I would put it as a decimal, because that one's already in decimal form. That's why I would do it. So my equation would be f of x equals, and then we're going to plug in a, so 0.1, and then we use the x, like the variable x, not the number x. We'll use the variable and we'll do x minus 4 and x minus 24 to get our equation. And then what is the average rate of change in temperature over the interval in which the temperature is decreasing, increasing, compare the average rates of change? Yeah, we're not going to do that.
Yes.
I hope that's not in homework. I don't think it is though. But let's just check our answer to go to the table and make sure that these ordered pairs are there so you know how to check your answer. Let's go to our y equals and type in that equation you just wrote down. So I'm going to type in 0.1 parenthesis x minus 4 close parenthesis open parenthesis x minus 24. And I'm going to go to my table. The equation's written on your paper, right? But the equation's on your paper, right? And then I'm just checking to make sure those ordered pairs are there. So I'm looking for 0, 9.6. I'm looking for 4, 0. And then I'll probably do table set, change my table to jump to 24. Just to make sure it's there, which it is. How do I do? The table set to change it, or the table? Right where I am right now, second graph. Do you see how it says table above it? Yep. Oh yeah, and then you got different answers. So it is really helpful to have this check, just to make sure you have the right equation on your paper. What's the next thing say? On your paper, what's the next thing say?
Write an equation.
No. Doesn't it say that on your paper?
Write an equation from.
It says student practice!
No, I was reading these.
That's one down. You skipped this one.
I know, that's
I
why
know,
I don't.
oh.
That's what
Yeah,
I
I
said.
said. Okay. We might come back to that later, but we need to get through the main points of these notes today. After this student practice, we will take a quick brain break. Since your brains have been being used. Did you check out your calculator to make sure that you're ready to use it?
What's the equation? You all done it.
Yes. What's f of x? Oh, you haven't plugged it in yet. You gotta plug in the x. Did you plug in your calculator and check it? Did it work? I'm gonna check it on the y equals and see. Check it. Check it. Once you've got an answer, put it in your y equals and go look at the table to see if all the ordered pairs are there. Once you've got an answer, go plug it in your table, plug it in your y equals, to see if all the answers are there. I'm going to start doing it on the board. When you do this one, does it say to write a function f, or does it say write an equation? So then that one you'd write as y equals. If it said write a function f, you'd write it as f of x. Question?
I forgot to put the points in, but still got the same thing.
What?
I forgot to put the
Then that is completely coincidental.
Try
It is.
another one.
It is.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's coincidental. So are you copying down the right way of doing it so you can use your notes later? Because we're about to take a brain break and, you might forget everything that we just did. Hopefully not, but yeah.
What are we supposed to do to check this again?
So to check it, we'll go to our y equals. And I'm going to type in the equation I got, which was, hey, can we, remember how respectful it is to, not talk while other people are talking? So I'm going to just type in my equation and my y equals. So I'm going to go to my table, and I'm going to look for the ordered pairs, which were given to me, which was 2, 5, and then the x-intercepts at -2 and +4. So my x-intercept at -2, 0 is there in my table. The point 2, 5 is there, and then 4, 0 is also there. So I have the right equation. Okay. So what we're going to do now is write an equation of the parabola in standard form that passes through 3 given points. Are any of these the vertex? Well, we don't know. It doesn't say. Are any of these the x-intercepts? Probably. How do we know it's an x-intercept?
Y equals 0.
Y is 0. Are any of these the x-intercept? Are any of these y equals 0? So we don't have the vertex that we know of, and we don't have x-intercept. So you have to use the third method. You're going to have to write 3 equations with 3 variables. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to use standard form. I'm going to write standard form right above this, the equation. Standard form is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Remember we were using standard form. You find your AOS by doing what?
Negative b over 2a.
Negative b over 2a. Like that's where we used standard form before. Now what we're going to do is we're going to actually find the equation. And then there we have 3 ordered pairs. And each of these ordered pairs has an x and a y. So the first one I'm going to call x1, y1. The second one I'm going to call x2, y2. And the third one I'm going to call x3, y3. So we got 3 ordered pairs. We're going to plug in x and y into y equals ax squared plus bx plus c 3 different times. We're going to plug in x and y. So what am I not plugging in? A, B, and C. I'm going to plug in x and y, but I will still have A, B, and C in my equation. The first equation is going to be y equals, so negative 5 equals A times x squared, so negative 4 close parentheses squared, plus B parentheses x, negative 4, close parentheses, plus C. So that's equation number 1. Equation number 2, I use x2, y2. So I'm going to start with y2, 4 equals a x squared, so negative 1 squared, plus b times x, which is negative 1, plus c. So that's equation 2. Equation 3, I use x3, y3. So we'll start with y, negative 5 equals a parenthesis 2 squared plus b parenthesis 2 plus c. Questions about why I plugged what numbers in where? No questions? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take equation 1, 2, and 3, and I'm just going to rewrite them a little bit simplified. Like I'm going to square the negative 4. So I'm just going to rewrite them simplified so they're easier numbers to work with. So equation 1 is negative 5 equals 16a minus 4b plus c. So I multiply the negative 4 squared, multiply the negative 4 times the b, rewrite the equation simplified. Equation 2, 4 equals 1a minus b plus c.
You just write A's.
Yeah, I didn't write 1 either. I just wrote it. I just said it though. And then equation 3 is going to be negative 5 equals 4a plus 2b plus c. So what we have are 3 equations with 3 variables. How do we solve for a, b, and c?
The elimination.
Okay, the thing that we learned how to do in here. I'm going to go through the steps like you don't know it, but you should know it, and if you work ahead, that's fine. I do, however, want to give you a tip about discount. If you look carefully, there's never anything in the original question with the C. There's never anything with the C. So I always decide to eliminate C because if I take one of these and make it negative C, I can just use that one to eliminate C, and I don't have to worry about multiplying by 2 or 4 or 7. I just multiply one of them by negative 1, you know what I'm talking about? So I'm going to eliminate C, but you can totally eliminate whatever you want. I'm going to eliminate C first. So I think I'm going to take the first equation. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to take the first equation and multiply everything by -1. And I will do equation 1 and 2. So I'm going to eliminate using 1 and 2 and call that equation A. So since I already multiplied equation 1 by -1, I'm going to use equation 1 a second time, but I'm just going to use it with equation 3. So I'll still eliminate C. Remember, you have to eliminate the same variable twice. And of course I wrote big on the first one, so now I'm out of space. So once we have our A and our B equations, then what should we do? Times A by -2? Yeah, that would work. So we have to eliminate either A or B at this point. Check my math, did I do it right? If you are working ahead, that is okay with me. There is one tiny little bit of difference of how we write our solution, which you'll see as soon as I get there. If you are working ahead because you've been practicing this already, that's okay. Just make sure you check your solution because it's going to be slightly different when we're done. So from here, I got A as -1. Where am I going to put that? Plug it in what? A or B. And I think I'm going to do B because it has a 0. I don't know. That's kind of looks easy to me. But you can really do whatever you want. So 0 equals -12 times 1 plus 60. So I got B is -2. Then where do we go from there? Once we have A and B? We're going to plug in 1, 2, or 3. Which one looks easy? Yeah, I'm thinking 2 also. 4 equals A minus B plus C. Plus C. And then from there, you're going to want to check it. You want to check it in 1. You want to check it in 2. Time-wise, I'm skipping the check because I'm right, okay? I want to show you how to write the solution. So the answer is not find where 3 equations cross. Okay, the directions did not say find where 3 equations cross, so we're not going to write an order triple. What do the directions ask us to find?
And then plus,
I messed up?
yeah, be plus 1.
Oh, did I?
So be 2.
See where it says.
See what I got? C.
Okay, so I did -1 plus 2, which is what? 1, and then I subtracted 1 from both sides.
That's 3.
Just 3, right?
Oh,
Yes.
really?
Yeah.
Which
I got 3.
one do you plug, which one do you plug it into? 2.
I'm negative 1, negative 3.
I got 3. I didn't know you added them together, but you were.
Yeah, I did it fast in my head, sorry.
So
Sorry.
A is -1.
Yeah, so A, and then minus B was -2.
So,
Oh, that's fine.
Did you not do minus -2?
No, I put 3 as 2.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, so our solution is an equation. Our final answer is an equation. So what you're going to do is you're going to write the equation y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, but you have to put in the a, the b, and the c. So our final answer is going to be y equals, and then a was what number? -1, so we'll do negative x squared. And then b was -2, so minus 2x. And then c was 3, plus 3. So our final answer is the equation of the line. So there is a way to just kind of check to make sure you did something right using your graphing calculator also. So go ahead and put that into your graph, into your y equals, put that number in, into your graphing calculator.
Put it back to the word. Yeah.
You're going to type it in your graphing calculator, and then you want to go to the table and make sure that all 3 ordered pairs are in the table. And I'll explain why this step is very helpful once you've done it and checked it. So I'll go to my table, and I'm looking for which ordered pairs? Looking for...
-4, -5, -4. They're all. I know, I don't want to do
I was trying to put it up with my calculator here,
I don't.
if I can fit it all. So I'm looking for -4, -5. -4, -5 is there. I'm looking for -1, 4, it's right there. And I'm looking for 2, -5, and it's right there. So I have the right equation. Can I tell you why it's kind of important that we check it?
Sure.
So when you look at the original question, it didn't give you 3 equations to solve. You had to create the equations yourself. If you create the equation wrong, and then you go and you solve it, and you do the plug in 1 and plug in 2 and it all checks, that doesn't mean you have the right answer with those ordered pairs. Because if you set up your equation wrong, you could still get all of that work correct with your equations, but you might have the wrong equations to begin with. So using that graphing calculator to check to make sure those ordered pairs are there validates the fact that you've done everything right, not just the solving part, but setting it up also. So with the student practice, I just want you to set up the 3 equations and simplify. If you've already gone through and solved them all, great. But I just want you to set them up and simplify, because that's the new part. And then once we have that, you guys can start your assignment, which is online. Big idea. So you can check your answers too. So remember, we're doing 3 equations, and they're all y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So you write those 3 equations. I'm going to put them up here, and you can check when you're done. your mailbox number. Well, I'm gonna choose big ideas. It's been a while since we've done it. You don't remember? So I have the answer, not the answer, but the equations. We have to solve it from there, but we're not gonna take the time to do that. You guys can just work on your assignment. You've got all the backs of your notes to work out the problems. You've got 3 full pages of backs of the notes to work out the problems. Yes. We just put it back into that writing equation in standard forms. You just have to plug in your A equation when you're done. So our A was -1, our B was -2. So like setting it up.
No one, you can't.
You should be taking your
Whatever
number.
I'm fine. And you'll be off.
Somebody actually would.
Yeah. And she's serving Quadratic. What, like, report of law?
So the assignment is, it's on big ideas. If for some reason you get home and your internet has blown up and you can't do it online, these are the numbers from the book that are the exact same as the questions online. So you could put it on paper, or you could come in XH tomorrow and borrow a computer. But if you're at home and don't have internet and you still want to do it, you could do it using these numbers, and then just come and plug your numbers in when you get back to school. Please don't take pictures. Warn me first.
Don't worry, I zoomed in, so you were.
Okay.
You guys,
Makes me nervous.